exhausted of seeing this and just having the same kind of conversation with people who look like me.
Mhm.
I've been trying to see like, okay, I'm done talking about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Where are these allies who, love our music and, I like you, you're cool. Like, where are you guys? Like, I feel like we have been kind of shouting into a void. They're not listening. Where are you guys? We need your help.
Mhm.
And I've just been kind of disappointed in the things that I've seen on that end. And
Yeah.
I really use social media as an escape. I like to look at funny memes and videos, but I can't even get an escape there. Like, it's just constant. It's no escaping all of these things, and it's just heavy,
Yeah.
heavy. And yeah, it's been difficult to get the simple things done during my day because of all that's going on. And I have a little son. My son is 6 months, and it's I'm excited to show him the world and expose him to things, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous for him. The world doesn't like him, and they
Yeah.
don't even know him. You
Yeah.
know, my husband is black, my dad is black, my brothers, uncles, friends. I mean, and it's not even limited to men. So I can't even just say just the men in my life.
Yeah.
Me, my mom, my cousins.
Yeah.
Petty is the word for me.
Yeah. How about you, Whitney?
I think for me, it's a lot of feelings. Like it started getting really heavy. I think with the Amy Cooper situation with the dog, and she then strangled the dog and crying wolf. It just reminds me of like Emmett Till. Like I'm just seeing all of these things just repeat themselves again, where they use their privilege to our life can depend on it. And then seeing the thing in the what happened in Minnesota, and I rewatched it today, and seeing him calling for his mom and seeing him
Oh,
say, "I can't
Jesus.
breathe," and people around saying, "Hey," it just makes me feel like as a police officer, why are you working in a community where you're scared of the people that you work with? Like there's never a time, I think, being a therapist where I'm scared or frightened of the people that I work with in my community. Yeah, there's going to be people who are aggressive and hostile and come in for services and may not like us or may not like what we're doing or don't want to be there. But I just couldn't imagine being so fearful and taking on a job that's dangerous within itself, but just being so fearful of the people in my community to where I feel like I have to use excessive force or kill them or harm them or just have no disregard for their life, and for the other officers just to stand around. And I just couldn't imagine hearing somebody cry for help and saying, "I can't breathe, I feel like I'm gonna die," and just be totally wiped out to it, just totally not any care for someone's life. So I guess it just really makes me question, like, why do you work in a community and you're so terrified of people who are only brown? Like that's the only difference about us. Like we're just brown. So
Mhm.
I just don't understand that piece. That's what really gets me.
Mhm. I I couldn't watch the video. I can't remember the last video that made me just decide like I can't do this. I can't watch someone's last moments. It's 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 I pride myself on being a writer and having words and like all of these feelings. Like it leaves me mute. Like I can't even construct sentences to express how just like dismayed and disgusted and disappointed I am in a system that, my parents are Nigerian, I'm first generation. Um, and I bought into the model minority story that I was fed. Like you do the work, you go to a good school, you like just keep your nose to the grindstone, and it none of it matters. None of it matters. You can be taken just like that, and watch as people pull up your record or old Facebook post, or try to criminalize you in death to remove the guilt that they should face for taking your life. Like it just, I don't have kids yet, and I think about what it means to birth Black children and having this knowledge that like at a certain point they're not cute anymore. Like people will stop cooing at them and hold their purses against themselves when they see them, and think that that them advocating for themselves is talking back. Or I just, how do you deal with that kind of stress? Yeah, I'm laughing because someone told me that this question is anti-Black, but I think it's a reality. Like, how do you deal with the psychological trauma of seeing these stories and immediately being like, that could be my insert inner, title?
I don't know if that was a rhetorical question, but that is
Oh,
something.
sorry. It wasn't. I legitimately am like, what? How do you do this?
I don't necessarily have an answer, but that is definitely something that has been on my mind since the quarantine started. Just how do you move through life and function with everything that's going on? And what I've been trying to do, I've not mastered it, and the therapists are experts. They can, definitely give better advice. But I try my best to kind of stay in the moments that make my heart smile. So, when my son, laughs, or he's growing another tooth, enjoying those moments and at least inserting those little things into my spirit to kind of help hopefully balance out all the negativity. I mean, I don't know if there are enough with the amount of negative things that are going on in the world, but I try my best to stay in those little moments and save those, to help keep me going.
I love that. Like finding joy. Yeah. Whitney or Tiffany, what strategies do you have for that kind of like parenting under an oppressive system?
I don't.
Yeah, it's a big question.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like it wasn't until you were talking and I was just like, dang, like I do have a little Black girl who at some point might not be considered cute anymore. And I don't even know how to even address that with her. Like, I mean, when she becomes, first of all, when, at what age do I even have that conversation? And then what do I say? I mean, I do try to, through our like bedtime stories, what I try to do is, or just any books that I buy for her, make sure that they are books of Black boys and girls. Mostly Black boys and girls. There are other people of colors. But just to make her aware of her Blackness and to like feel confident in that. But I mean, I don't have the words of what I could say to let her know, like, wow, you may be confident, because that very trait that I'm trying to instill in her may be the reason why somebody views her as being aggressive or hostile, so it's just like, I don't know.
And I agree with that, Tiffany, because like you're saying, the things that we teach our young Black children can also be seen as a threat to others. And I think it really starts with our other cultures teaching their children, because unless they start teaching their children, it's going to continue to be a repeat.
Yeah.
Because I feel like early on as a child, we begin to understand our color, our culture, things about us that are different. But I feel like, and I've never grew up as a white child, but I just feel like as a white child, you don't have to think about your race every minute. Like every single day I think about my race. I think about being a woman. If I see police, I'm automatically alerted. Like, and I think about, that's toxic stress on our brains every day. Yeah. And so I just feel like we can continue to do that, but until other cultures become more aware of who we are and start teaching their kids, it's just going to be this constant cycle. Because I don't feel like they ever have to sit their child down and say, hey, you're white and you make and Black. Like, I don't feel like that. And it may Maybe some families, but I don't feel like that's a conversation. I don't feel like they have to tell their children they're white and these are the things, or you are this and these are the things. But from a child, I've known I'm Black. I've known that a kid may treat me different, not based off if I'm smart or if I don't know something, but based upon my color. Like, I feel like we get that very early on, and they don't. Like, they don't really understand race and culture until it directly impacts them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that we don't, and we're not aware, because, you know, we grow up in these houses, like everybody's Black, you know, all my family and friends are Black. And then when we go to school and we have an encounter with a white person that makes it very clear that we're different because we're Black, then that's when we go home and have to then look to our parents like,
What?
Yeah, like, you know, some they do something that makes us aware of our color.
I agree.
It's a rude awakening. I remember, like, I started reading at a very early age, and like my parents would give me Jets and like Ebony's, and I was like reading these stories and being like, what's the Ku Klux Klan? What's racism? And my parents explained it to me, and like the KKK was my boogeyman. Like, I was terrified of like the KKK because I was reading about it when I was 4.
Oh.
That's a conversation for another day and some questions to ask Tony and Amelia at another point. But I remember I was in McDonald's playpen with my brother, and this white boy started throwing balls at us and said, "Hey, everybody, start throwing balls at the Black kids." And I was like, that's racism. I know it. I have been prepared for it. And all I felt was this like deep shame about being Black. And in the work that I'm doing with Modern Mia, there was like a study that came out that said that Black teenagers on average experience 5 racist incidents a day. And that's on average. It can definitely be more, it can definitely be less, but the average is 5. I didn't get the your melanin's popping, look at your 4C hair, like look, like I didn't get that. I just got the racism is bad and it happens because we're Black. I didn't get the messaging that could have counteracted that white boy throwing balls at me. And so I think it's so important to what you were saying, Tiffany, about like making sure that the books that, you know, your kids are reading reinforce positive imagery about you, so that like the image of your Blackness isn't being defined by mainstream media, because it's either not there or it's like very limited in what Blackness can be. So yeah, I'm just thinking, like, my husband's white and we're talking about like what does it mean to be anti-racist. Like, so it's not enough to, you know, not say the N-word. It's not enough to not want Trump in office. It's like you have to be actively busting shit up because this oppressive system is not it for your wife, for your kids, for your in-laws. And I know people who have married white spouses and then ended up getting divorced because it was like, I did not realize how anti-Black he was until we had children. So I'm like trying to cut that off at the pass. But I think about that all the time, like, wow, the children, like, how do I raise kids who are confident in their Blackness? When I'm just now starting to get confident in my Blackness after like years of that respectability politics, model minority stuff. So sorry, y'all, I'm just yammering.
Just speaking to me, like everything you're saying, I'm first generation as well. My parents are Jamaican, and like, same sort of thing, you know. You do your schoolwork, you behave, you speak a certain way, you look a certain way, and you know you'll be fine. And it's not like that. And definitely being an adult, I'm becoming more into my Blackness and loving who I am, because I definitely didn't growing up. Growing up in mostly white spaces. There's nobody who looked like me, you know, who I am, who I was not attractive. So you're always trying to hide it, so that, you know, I wasn't I guess, picked on or pointed at. I try to kind of blend in, but as you're saying, how do you raise Black kids when you're just learning? I think maybe that's a journey maybe we do together.
I like that.
That just came to my head because I'm definitely in that same space. I'm, embracing my Blackness. I'm loving it, and I'm not perfect, but I'm on this journey, and hey, my son's name is Story. Come on with me. We're gonna get on this journey of loving ourselves and loving our brothers and sisters together. So.
I love that. Yeah.
I think that's important too. Like when I know that, so when I had my daughter, I knew that I wanted her to be like pro-Black and to love her skin but and so it wasn't then until I realized how, I mean, maybe I did realize it before then, but maybe it just wasn't that important to me, how underrepresented we are. Like, it's so hard to find TV shows where she can see little girls that look like her, or it's hard, not books, and which is why we read a lot, because, luckily there are more books for people of color, or for Black kids, but not shows. Like, she enjoys watching like little stuff on YouTube Kids on her iPad, and I find myself like blocking a lot of stuff because it's these white little girls and brushing their straight hair, and it didn't really, the underrepresentation didn't really become important to me until I've needed to until I wanted her to be able to see herself in people that look like her in all that she does, the books that she reads, the shows that she watches, the daycare and the schools that she goes to. So
if Deetra were on or is in the chat, she would laugh at me because what I do during these talks is like, oh, I've written about that, and there's an article that we did called "Representation Matters: 35 Black Kids TV Shows You Can Watch Right Now." So the link is in the chat, and yeah, because I just remember growing up, like, never really seeing myself in the books that I read. Like, I was a big Sweet Valley High, Babysitter's Club reader, and they had Jessie, but Jessie was kind of like boring, and she like did ballet or whatever, but like she was never the star of a episode or a book series. And yeah, I didn't realize how important it was until I started like realizing like, oh, some of this like anti-Blackness that I'm carrying is because of the media I was consuming, and like the fact that I didn't see myself. And I went to majority Black elementary, middle, and high school. It wasn't until college that I was mostly around white people. And the anti-Blackness in the community was real as well. Like, it's just like, how do we get to a place where it's celebrated? And I think a lot of it is these conversations that we have with kids and healing work that you can have through having a child as well. Oh, you're welcome, Deetra. Let's see. I saw someone named Nadia joined us. Hi, Nadia. We're just chatting, sharing how we're feeling in light of George Floyd's murder. And yeah, just how are you feeling?
Hi, I'm good. I'm doing good.
Yeah. Are you a new mom?
Yes.
How are you feeling about that? Tell us everything.
It's been challenging, just the whole getting up at night and just kind of learn her, and like when she's hungry and when she's tired. So it's been challenging, but it's been good. It's been fun.
How old is she?
2 months.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Casey, do you have any advice for Nadia about like that time period? Because I know you were recently there.
Yeah. Hi, Nadia.
Hey.
I'm a new mom too. My son is 6 months. Um, I would definitely say this is great because they stay pretty still. My son is at the place where he's like trying to climb all over me and wants to like do things. So just enjoy like that cuddle time where they're just like helpless and looking at you and cooing and just kind of laying there. Just get all those snuggles in because she's gonna want to jump all over the place really really soon.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have community support right now, Nadia, with everything that's going on? Like I know, like usually if you had an issue, you could like call somebody to come, hold the baby while you take a shower or,
Oh, yeah. My parents are great. They've been my support system. And also my grandma, she comes down every so often to help.
That's awesome. Whitney and Tiffany, what are some issues that your clients who are new moms have with the transition from their pregnancy to actually having a baby with them now?
Sorry, we tend to talk at the same time.
No, so, and I saw you like unmuting, so I was like, I'm gonna.
No, I was like, you go first, Tiffany.
So I was just gonna say, I mean, it's kind of like, so you go into the hospital being your own self, like your own person, and then like within some hours it's like, okay, here, go home with this stranger that you don't know nothing about, they don't know nothing about you, but go make it work. And so just that transition of like, okay, so I'm home now and this baby is like out of my belly, so what do I do now? And then of course kind of like balancing or getting enough sleep. We like to ask mom, like, how much sleep were you getting before, and then kind of compare that to what that sleep is going to look like with the new baby. It's an acronym called SELF, and these are like the things that are, is it called SELF? I think that when things are like the important things, the 4 key important things that you need to like stick to maintain your mental health after giving birth. And the S is sleep, making sure that you're getting adequate sleep, which can be hard, especially if you're a single parent and you don't have, and during COVID and you don't have the supports. Like I can't say, okay, can you please just take care of the baby so I could just get at least like 2 hours here and then maybe another 2 hours to total 4. Exercise, laughter. So SE, doing something, the exercise is doing something active, even if it's like taking a walk for 30 minutes. L is for laughter, doing something that you enjoy. Maybe, I know, scrolling on Instagram, I know, Casey, I think you said that usually that's your relief, looking at funny memes. Doing something to kind of to feel some sense of joy. And then the F is food. And so then making sure you are, even if you're not eating 3 full meals a day, make sure the meals that you are eating are like nutritious, and you're getting the nutrients and things that you need, because these are the things that fuel our body and make us feel good, especially during times when things can be super challenging and difficult.
Not in that way.
Hi, Candace.
Hi, who goes there?
Hi.
I don't recognize you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What's your name?
My name's Tomi.
Tomi. Okay, that sounds familiar now. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hey. We're just hanging out, talking about our feelings, what's it like to be a new mom. So how are you doing?
Yes. You want to see? Speaking of.
Hi.
Yes, I'm a new mom of 3 now. So.
Oh, wow. Yay.
Yeah, we have a 2-month-old. So a 2-month-old and that one, he is going to be 2.
Oh, wow.
And then we have a 3-year-old.
Hi.
Almost 4. So yeah.
So how are you feeling being a new mom of 3?
You know what? I feel like I had a lot of support my first couple of months. Well, really the first like month or so, I had a really good support system because we were with more family. And even now, my mother-in-law lives nearby. So actually she was just here helping me to fold laundry, and I got dinner done. So it has been helpful, but there have been a few times where I feel like I'm losing it a little bit. Definitely, I've had some moments of screaming and like just trying to get it back together. But I just recently got back on a pretty good, she's inside. I got a pretty good routine written out and just started that yesterday. So this is day 2 of my new daily routine, and it's working because dinner is done, they're fed. So it's given me a good framework of just kind of how to go through the day. So
we're giving you all the claps, Candace. What is that schedule for anyone who's gonna to watch this later?
Yeah, so I decided to move aside so I can hear you ladies. But that schedule is pretty much for me. I'm trying to wake up at least an hour before them. Yesterday that didn't work. I thought I was waking up early at 6, and turns out they were already up. So there's that. But waking up earlier, having a time of, for me, I'm a Christian, so having some time of prayer, reading of the Bible, even if it's just a scripture, has been truly just something to get me going. I have a list of like affirmations that I read. And so I've realized that over time, being able to hear the word, the Bible says that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So there's power, when you say out loud what you believe and what the Bible says, and then you hear yourself saying it. And so that is what brings faith to you, right? So affirmations is helpful. And then one thing we have been doing is mat time. So the night before, I lay out like 2 yoga mats for them. They don't do yoga, but just for a sense of identification, they have a mat. And then I put out like a few toys that are more like motor skills or building things to get their brain working. And we set the day up in quarters. So we have like first quarter is mat time, story time, like reading, that sort of thing, and a small lesson. And then second quarter is when they can watch something on television, an educational program. Third quarter is typically them with like snack or like and lunch. And then fourth quarter is just free play. So you're just following me. So we set it up in quarters like that. And that way during third quarter, I get to cook dinner while they are free playing. And then bedtime, we've been doing bath, book, and bed, and trying to get some time afterwards for me to hang out with my husband and for me to fold laundry and kind of get stuff going. But if there's a place for me to share that, I have a link actually with the.
Please do. Please put it in the chat and I'll share it.
Oh, yes.
Also, can you adopt me? I want to be raised by you.
I'm trying. God's grace is, and every day it's like, we just have to keep going the next day. If you don't get it right, and I have become a little bit more attentive in apologizing and asking for forgiveness, even to, especially our 3-year-old, when mommy has yelled or has been impatient or something, saying like, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. And she's 3 and she's very gracious and quick to forgive, but it allows us to maintain that relationship and be able to move on to the next thing, so that she or myself don't feel, when you have a tension with your child and you're just like, what's happening right now, So that quick forgiveness and apologizing even to a child has been really helpful for me and for her. So yeah,
I love that. That's great advice.
I think that's really good, Candace. I found so I do that too. If I just lose my cool with my 2-year-old, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, mommy, sorry, she didn't mean to yell, or mommy, sorry that she rushed you. I just want you to eat a little quicker. And so I've noticed that now if she does something that so she accidentally like wet her panties a little because she not. She was playing and she wanted to wear a leotard today, so it made it a little bit more difficult.
Girl, oh my gosh.
And so,
you are like living my life right now.
and so I said to her, like, you know, you need to start going to potty when you first feel it and not holding it.
Right.
You need to, you know, stop playing with your toys or whatever. And she was like, okay, mommy, I'm sorry. I'll try next time. And I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah.
So me apologizing is making her more, you know, aware or open to like saying sorry, because she can be stubborn and sometimes like, I'm not saying sorry, like I don't care.
Right. No, that's true. That happens to us all the time. And I feel like we've had a little bit of a regression with the potty training, and that's frustrating, you know, and it's just kind of like, I realized too that our daughter, she's been asking me more to come with her for help when it's like she knows how to go on her own. And I realized, I kind of paused in a moment. I was like, maybe she just wants me, and especially having a new baby, she just wants some space of alone time. Just the two of us. And that has been coming by her asking me to take her to the bathroom, even though she knows how to go on her own. So sometimes it's taking a moment to kind of read between the lines to say, what is she really, or he really asking for right now, you know?
That pause sounds so important for like to lead with the, so that you're not frustrated, that you're not parenting from a place of frustration or highly regulated. So that's awesome. And I included a link to our Mindful Parenting Mom's Night in case anyone wants to look at that. How are you guys dealing with frustration during this time period? And what are some strategies that can be helpful to dealing with like so many different people's needs?
I think for me and with the clients I work with, it's just understanding that we are in a time of uncertainty. And there are things that are just not in our control right now. So you are going to get tired of seeing the people in your house and dealing with them and just interactions, and being okay with those feelings. Like, I am feeling frustrated and not feeling guilty or shamed about it, but also being mindful of your response and your reaction. And that's just generational. Like when you guys are talking about saying sorry to your children or apologizing, like I don't ever remember my mom saying, sorry, Whitney. It was just like, you want to come to the store, or food ready. Like it was never that, yeah, like it was never that apology. So I think now, being in that time of uncertainty, practicing those skills and being aware of your feelings. Like I always tell my clients, there's nothing wrong with being angry. And I feel like a lot of times we teach kids that being mad or frustrated is bad. But I always tell my clients, you can be mad. It's just how you react. It's how you communicate it. Use your words, communicate it. But you, like, understanding that being mad is okay. Like, you can sit with those feelings. It's just how you react and how you process it and cope it. So it's totally okay to be frustrated right now. We're living in a time of uncertainty, but just understanding that frustration and where it's coming from. And I think that's a big thing, like understanding that madness and frustration is a secondary emotion. So always figuring out, where is it really coming from, and being okay with people get on your nerves sometimes. Like, people get on your nerves, and it's okay. Like, being okay with unsettled feelings. Like, I feel like we always try to like sweep them under the rug and, nope, I can't get mad right now. It's okay. Or if we get mad, we shame ourselves. Like, I'm like that. If I get mad about something, I just feel so bad afterwards. And that's just me not processing, why are you mad, Whitney? What made you mad? And do you feel like when you were mad, did you get it out, or you just kept it in? So I think that's a big thing that I kind of tell myself and the people I work with.
Yeah, same. And I think too, a lot, you know, some things that I have to tell myself and the mothers that I work with is, you know, while I'm pretty sure we are all, you know, grateful and blessed to be able to be mothers, it's not always like fun, and it doesn't always feel good. And I think if we understand that, and we release the shame and guilt that we feel when things aren't fun, it'll make us easier, or it'll make it easier to process those feelings. And if we, especially like when with new moms, like with their first child, it's like nobody talks about the hard parts. Like everybody talks about, you know, how you're going to feel all gooey and now you're going to melt after you have this baby, and this love is just going to be like overwhelming. And you talk about all the good things. Nobody talks about the bad things. So then when the uncomfortable feelings arise, it's kind of like, what's wrong with me? Because everybody else is saying that they feel good about this. Like they just the ball of bubbles all the time. Like I'm over here struggling. So what's going on? What's wrong with me? And so that's Whitney and I do a lot of that work of trying to normalize the highs and the lows of motherhood. Like that's the question when we do our support groups every other Friday. We begin with, tell us your highs and lows for the week. And most of the time, everybody has the same lows. Like, girl, your baby not sleeping either? Oh my God, like, what are you doing? And so we strive to normalize the uncomfortable feelings and the things that, the common challenges that people often don't talk about.
Yeah, all about that over on Mater Mia. I think like the things that make you feel shame and icky and like what's wrong with me is the lack of honest storytelling around these different experiences. So it's so important to as you said, normalize those experiences. I was reading an article that said that with COVID and quarantining and social isolation, people are experiencing more postpartum depression, baby blues, because of being isolated and away from typical supports. What advice would you have for a mom who's feeling like she might be dealing with baby blues or postpartum depression, or anxiety during this time period?
I would say first, understanding, being able to understand or find a resource, because baby blues is less severe and the timing is different. So if you're feeling baby blues, that's that first 6 weeks. You see anything, we use the term PMADs a lot. So there's perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. So after that 6 weeks, that's when you may start to see, and it can happen up to a year. And a lot of moms are like, why am I feeling this and my baby is 9 months or my baby is 10 months? It can happen all the way up until your baby is a year within that period, or even afterwards, it can have prolonged effects. So I think finding a resource or reaching out or even simply Googling, understanding the severity, the timing, and what you're feeling, because it could be intrusive thoughts. It could be scary thoughts. It could be postpartum anxiety. And another thing is like understanding the physical symptoms. A lot of times as African-American women, we may describe our symptoms as physical. It may be fatigue. It may be dizziness. It may be sweating. It may be body pain. So understanding it's just not sad thoughts, and it's just not postpartum depression. Like being able to get the resources and finding someone, which can be hard at times to find providers that look like us. But I definitely say do your research in Google, or talking to someone is always helpful, like someone that is beneficial to talk with that can possibly help you find a resource.
And I think, and like we were talking about earlier, you know, now that we've like have mastered this virtual world because we have been quarantined for God knows how long, there have been a lot of like virtual resources and free resources that you can access from like your phone or your computer. So while this may be an isolating time because we might not be able to be close in proximity to our support systems, we are, you know, there are a lot of resources online. Like there's so many virtual support groups. am like astounded by everything that's going on, that like all I got to do is click a link, because there is I mean, so that is one good thing that can come out of COVID. And especially in like, so if you're a mom of 3, you know, I ain't toting all these kids to this group, but I can sit and log on and have my computer off and be muted and still get full and get whatever these the information and the knowledge that the people are giving to me, without really having to be physically present in that moment.
something that's been coming up is like this idea of not having the support that you need from if you're partnered from your partner. How have you guys navigated getting that support? Sorry, can everyone see me still? Okay. How do you navigate getting that support as a new mom when you're might not have the language to describe like exactly what you need? Yeah.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like I mentioned before, we have a 2-month-old, and I'm very, very grateful and very happy to have a husband who is very hands-on and who works a very flexible schedule, and so he is home. But even with that said, I realize that I now have to be very clear in my request, and that means that I need to first know at least a general idea of what I need or what I want. And if there's something that I need help with, I have to ask specifically. So I'll give you a brief example where I got frustrated because I asked, okay, can you give the older kids, the toddlers, give them the bath, right, and get them to bed? But that didn't translate all the way to bath, pajamas fully on, in the bed, don't come back out, So it was like they were bathed. They had half a pajama on, but the whole bedtime book routine, like everything that in my mind, I'm thinking put them to bed is everything, right? And so I realized like, oh, I need to be very specific. And some men are different than others. My husband is very like, tell me exactly what you want and I will do that. But you need to ask me those specific things. And so I'm realizing I can't assume that when you say, please put the kids to bed or give them a bath, that means all of the steps are going to be done. As a mom or as a woman, there are things you just do because we don't even think about it. It's just happening. And you maybe spending more time with your kids. So you just know what they need or where things are. So asking very specific requests and going back and saying, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I didn't actually ask you to do this, before I get mad that like, why are the kids out of the bedroom, So trying to be as specific as you can.
Yeah, I think for me, something that I'm learning is to be okay. You're talking about not having the language. A lot of the things that I'm feeling or want to express, I don't know how to say. And my husband is a very good communicator. He's in communications. And, I find myself, having moments trying to speak to him and I'm just tripping over my words. And I'm saying, well, I don't know, I just feel crazy. I just feel away. But I think for me, it's giving me the courage and the grace to continue trying to kind of work out the language. He's very patient, thankfully, so I don't feel like I have to get it in and get it out. But just being okay with, I don't have the words, but I'm trying, and just keep going, because just knowing that he's there, he's listening is wonderful. And I can't always express what I need or what I'm feeling, but I continue to try, and I'm giving myself grace and the courage to continue to do that, and that's been helpful.
Great. And thank you, Deetra, if I missed you. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of like realization that my husband isn't a mind reader, and like I need to get it out. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask our?
I have a question.
Yeah, hey Bianca.
So my daughter just turned 1 at the end of April, and I still don't have a sex drive. And I'm curious. Yeah, I see a lot of shaking heads. Okay, so we were watching. So I'm just like, how do I get that back? Number one, but we were watching it was an old Chris Rock special, but semi-new for me. And in it, he talked about his divorce, and he said, you stay together by having sex and then like going out and like enjoying life. And we don't do either right now. And I think I know it's put a strain on our relationship because weeks ago, what I like about my husband is he's down to go and do anything. Like, so that was always like the thing that kept us together, because he was never like, oh no, I don't do that. He's always down. We just don't. And I know that I'm talking even before COVID. So COVID is different. Like, you can't go and do nothing. But even before, like, even at the beginning of this year, maybe by kind of stopped doing stuff. And then ain't nobody had sex for a very long time. And I don't even be in the mood. And I'm just like, damn, that sucks. Because I want to be in the mood, but I'm not.
I am going to pull up a video that I did. Gosh, what is time? Oh my gosh, why am I? Wow. Last year? It was definitely when we were all still hanging out and about together. But it was a conversation with a sex therapist, a trauma-based therapist, and a pleasure advocate. So I'm going to pull up my notes from that. But if Whitney or Tiffany have ideas while I'm looking for that, please share.
We're both waiting to unmute at the same time. But we had a panel discussion maybe a few weeks ago for Maternal Mental Health Week. And we had a great therapist. Her name is Sex Mommy Wellness on Instagram. And that was some of the questions. So Bianca, I'm not sure, like, did you have like any, I don't want to get too much into your business, but just like, I know some of the things that she said was just like, if you've had like a traumatic birth or tears or anything like that kind of affects intimacy. And I know another thing she spoke about is just trying, a lot of times we look at it just like physical sex, but like trying little things to start intimacy, maybe just touching a shoulder, maybe just that sense of touch, maybe just having a date night, or maybe just finding something to increase that intimacy to build up to that. She was like, a lot of times the women that she sees that are saying like, we haven't had sex in months or since the baby came, she was like, she asks them, what do you guys do that's intimate? And they're like, nothing. So she was like helping them build little things that are, because sex and intimacy isn't just always the actual like getting it in, like it's different little things that go along with that. So I know that was a big thing she always told those moms to incorporate with that. And also like just looking at different little things you can do. I know that was something big she talked about.
I will say one of my issues is I still haven't lost any baby weight. So that takes away all my sexy, to be quite honest, because I was real fly pre-baby. And like not so much. Like I'm looking at Casey, who has on the red lip and the hair out like what? And I'm like, girl, you doing it. Because that's not how I roll these days.
I dropped the link and the password to the video, and I remember something that was shared in that experience was like, to your point of just like reconnecting with your body and yourself and getting to know this new body that you have, because I don't have kids yet, but I've gained a lot of weight, and like the Tommy that used to like put it on 50 pounds ago is totally different than the Tommy that sits in this body that's 50 pounds heavier. And like the mindset that I used to have about being sexy and what that looked like, it's different now. And I have to like, you have to make space to get to know what it feels like to be sexy in this body so that you can be receptive to your partner showering you with affection. Because I know, like, I would be like, don't even like come around here, like, you know, I don't want that, because I don't feel like deserving of it, because I don't feel like this body is sexually desirable, and I don't want to project that onto you. I'm just sharing like my stuff. But that was something that came up during that conversation, was like, how do you getting in touch with your body, reconnecting with yourself, finding new ways to find pleasure, and then incorporating your partner into that in a way that, I forget who said it, it's not immediately like, not to be super heteronormative, but like penis and vagina, like that's not what intimacy is all the time. It can be that, but it doesn't have to start off that way when you don't feel quite there yet. Like, do the things that build up to that.
And also, I was listening to a podcast. It's called Mom in Mind, and it's by Dr. Kat. She's a psychologist, and she specializes in maternal mental health. And the podcast is really great. She has different specialists, I would say, that comes on as guest speakers and, talk about a specific topic. And one time she had a sex therapist on there, and she talked about women's sex drive being like a two-part system, if you think about like a gas and a brake. So there are some, and it's all about context. So there are some things, for instance, like speaking of context, if I'm already frustrated and overwhelmed with what's like the duties that I've been as a mom, like cooking, cleaning, bathing the kids, making sure they're straight, and you like touch me on my shoulder or slap my butt, the context is the brake is pushed, because it's like, no, do you not see what I'm doing here? Or do you not know what I've been doing all day? And you walking around smacking my butt. But if the context was maybe you were relaxed and you didn't have a stressful day with the kids, and maybe the kids were at your mom, maybe that touch would then like ignite the gas, because the context is different. I'm not feeling the same overwhelming feelings that I was feeling, before. So just to kind of keep that in mind, and then have those open conversations. For one, evaluate what it is that you need, and then have those open conversations with your partner. Like, maybe I would be more in the mood if you cooked dinner and folded the laundry today, and I just got to chill on the couch, So just realizing what it is that we need, and then being able to communicate those needs to our partner.
Tommy, can I add to that?
Oh yeah, of course.
So a couple things. I can relate on many levels, but I also have come to realize that a good lubricant can change the whole game. Just wakes things up. So find you a good water-based lubricant. That is helpful. But to your point of just finding intimate ways beyond the actual act, figuring out if you're a crock pot versus a microwave, and what things you need to hear or be helpful, or just throughout the day. I realized that we weren't having much touch in general, like you're saying. You're just busy doing things with the kids or picking them up. And we have 2 boys now, and the toddler boy that you just saw, he's very touchy-feely, very affectionate. So between nursing and having another little boy who also is very affectionate, I know for me, sometimes it's like, I feel like I get my feels in, I get that physical affection. So I'm like, I'm straight. But I have realized over the years that if you're married, you are the only one that can satisfy your husband in this way. Nobody else can do this for him in this context, right, of marriage, in the way that you desire your marriage to be. And so when we realize that, like, we're the only ones that can do that, it kind of, for me, gave me a little gut check. Like, if you don't do this, if you don't engage, if you don't have any kind of interest and try to go there, nobody else can do this for him, and so just that responsibility. And sometimes it is just pushing through the clutter, because a lot of it is mental, like you're saying, how you feel, like how you look. My daughter still thinks, like, she's like, oh, you're having a baby still, like she still sees. So it's like little things. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, mommy's having another baby, like your belly. And so just, you have all these self-talk things that you kind of have to push out of the way. And sometimes it is just the start of getting it going. And then you realize, like, oh, this is cool. Okay, cool. I needed that, you know, but just actually doing it can be very helpful. So those would be my words of encouragement. I'm living it, so I'm trying to remember to go there too, because it just doesn't, sometimes you don't feel like you're not even thinking about it, you know.
Candace, I'm glad you said that, because also in the podcast, the sex therapist said it's kind of like, you know, going to a party. So like, you know, the challenge is like, oh, I got to put some makeup on. I got to make sure I get cute, and I got to do all of this. Am I sure? Do I really want to go? And then you go to the party. You work through all of that, and you show up at the party, and then you have a good time. So it's like, okay, well, you know, all of that stuff was worth it. And also what you were saying about your, you know, your son being very touchy-feely. So, sex kind of can serve two different purposes for men and women. And for us, it is that like physical touch that we, you know, that's what our goal is for sex sometimes. And so if you are breastfeeding or you have that clingy child, then that need is met for you, you know, unintentionally. You're not seeking that from your kids, but just physiologically that need is met for you. And so then it kind of puts sex on the back burner, because it's like, well, I'm okay, like my needs were met. But then it's like you said, then you have to realize you are the person who can do that for you and your marriage, for your partner. So you got to just push through that and show up at the party and hope you have a good time.
I love that analogy. That analogy is so good.
Oh, that definitely goes a long way. It was a while before my husband and I started having sex, and again after having our baby, and it really. My parents came, at least in the beginning when they came, it allowed us some free time. So we were able to be a little more relaxed. But even so, I didn't feel it, but I just kind of allowed it to happen. And it was like a slow burn. It was like the party. Like, I'm like, oh, Lord. Yep. You just kind of like, let this happen. And then I had a great time.
After a couple shots.
Yes, I have tons of baby weight. I do not feel like, you know, the sexy Casey that I was, you know, when my first husband first met me. But yeah, sometimes you let it happen, your body kind of catches up. And then in the end, you're like, you know what? That was kind of nice. So what you're just saying, I'm just like, yes, preach, preach, preach.
And Bianca, I heard some earlier things about like the connection between you guys too, and I think it's important to like make space for that kind of intimacy through a date night. That kind of like flirtation can happen when there is space for it, but if there's not space being made to enjoy each other's company in that way, it can feel forced in a way that pumps the brakes on that kind of intimacy. So.
No, I agree, and I do think not hanging out, because the other thing is we just have a hard time. I know she's one, but finding a babysitter for her,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ready. Like, she's always with one of us, and she's, you know, so that's part of the reason that we haven't just had me and him time. But hopefully my mom will be here sometime this summer, and we'll be able to go back to that. But that's been a major hurdle too, not wanting to have a babysitter for her. I'm just kind of really cautious on that. But Candace said something at the very something at the very, very beginning. She said something and it blinked out for me. Do you guys remember what she said?
I think it was the lubricant, the water-based.
Oh, yes. I said
yes.
The water-based lubricant.
Thank you. Thank
you for the question, Bianca. Does anyone else have a question or a comment?
I guess my thought in all of this, like, how do I protect my son's kind of kids are very intuitive. They feel things, like even if you're showing a happy face, but if you're sad, they kind of sense that. And my question to myself, and I don't know what the answer is, hope you guys give me some tips, is how do you protect your kids' energy? How do you protect their feelings and their emotional state, and hoping that this time doesn't carry on in life in a negative way?
I think being open with them, because I think a lot of times as parents we try to, like hide kids from what we're feeling. So I think being open to communicate with them, like, because we don't see our parents in it. Like sometimes we can just feel the energy. So I think being able to have that open conversation, like even if they're little, but just saying, like, mommy has some things on her mind. It's making me, I feel this way today. Just like, when your toy breaks, how you like being able to relate it in a way they can understand. Because a lot of times as parents, we feel like gotta push through. I can't let my child see this, but kids need that for development. Like they need to see that piece and be able to process that piece. You don't have to really like get in depth with them, but let them, and being okay with sitting in those feelings. I always say that. Because I understand wanting to protect their energy and not wanting them to think the world is evil, even though it is kind of right now. But also speaking with them of the reality, of what you're feeling and kind of what's going on when they get to that appropriate age. I always say that, but it's just what works best for you.
Yeah. And when they're younger than 1, what does that look like? Like, do you think that kiddos absorb that energy at that age, or like how do you navigate that?
I think when they're younger than 1, it's always through the interaction, because even when a mom is experiencing postpartum depression or anxiety or OCD, like infants can feed off their interaction. They're looking for that. It's a great documentary on Netflix called Babies. And they showed the little baby when the mom sat there with a still face, the baby's energy totally changed. And then the mom was playing with the baby, interacting with the baby, and the baby was like so excited. So it showed how what you're feeling in that blank face with that little baby, it showed how those interactions are impacted when that mood changed, or if you're feeling a certain ways. Like babies, even before 1 can feel changes in interactions. They know when something's like, this is normal. Why did you stop? Why do you have this blank face now? So babies definitely can feel when interactions change, but definitely before 1.
So is it making space to like, feel those feelings, but like to do it away from the baby so that they're not absorbing that, or like, yeah.
Tiff, what do you think? Because I can go either way with it. What do you think?
I'm so sorry. I was not present. I was.
That's okay. I was just asking, like, we heard that kids under 1 can pick up on expressions and energy, but if you are experiencing like big feelings, do you put the baby down and have those feelings separately so they don't pick up on it, or like how do you deal with those feelings when your kids are under 1 and you can't have that conversation?
Under 1, I mean, I would say, and it might be beneficial if you can put the baby in a safe space and then go feel what beneficial for yourself to be able to get that relief, just because they're under 1, and sometimes they can pick up on our emotions, and we don't want our panic and our frenzy to then become theirs, because it's difficult. They're not at the point where you can have those type of conversations under 1. For a 2-year-old, you can have those conversations. Mommy is feeling, these big feelings. I'm feeling very angry right now. And then you're teaching them to identify feelings, what those feelings look like, and then what I can do to cope to kind of help manage those feelings. So I would say under 1, maybe just give yourself the space to feel what it is you're feeling, and then go back so you can be in tune and present with your infant.
And I think another thing is that babies build their temperament very, very, very early on, where they're born with their temperament. So that's another thing to be really like pay attention to. Babies build their temperament. We all have temperament, but you really start to see babies' temperament develop during those critical months. So that's something also to pay attention to.
What advice would you give for a mom who's feeling like completely overwhelmed right now with like COVID, police brutality, work, and mom guilt? It's a lot to carry. So how would you help them feel like they can carry that load?
I think it's important to know that, to like unplug from all the stuff that is fueling us. Let's take a break from the news, take a break from social media, so we're not internalizing those things, and then allowing ourselves the space to feel, whatever it is we're feeling, because we are entitled to our own feelings, and then being hopeful that things won't always be like this, and then engaging in activities that kind of make you feel good, focusing on things that you can control rather than focusing on things that may be out of our control. And then just finding the time to rest. I think we oftentimes feel like we have to be like these super moms and super women, and that we can handle it all and we can do it all, but we don't have to. And I think once we, realize that, then that shame and that guilt will kind of dissolve itself.
Yeah, and I think another thing is mom guilt. Like, guilt means that you did something bad, and taking time for yourself is not doing anything bad. And I think a lot of times you feel mom guilt. I'm doing something that's wrong or bad, but moms have to prioritize themselves, because if you break down, it's kind of like a trickle effect of the whole entire house falling over. So like, I think we always keep this mindset of, I gotta be strong, I gotta do this, I gotta hold it together. But what happens if you don't? Like, what happens if you decide that you don't want to do anything today? And also looking at your supports, like your supports needs to be like Batman and Robin. Like, if something happens to me, who's coming in to swoop in on me? So being able to prepare yourself, and also understanding that mom guilt is you thinking that you're doing something bad, and it's not anything bad to put yourself first.
Yeah. Casey, do you have anything you'd like to add?
They took the words right out of I think for me is just finally just stealing away like little bits of time. I know it's hard for me to have like a 3-hour nap or walk over 3 hours, but let me tell you, like, when I steal away and I go in the bathroom, I'm there for like a good 10-15 minutes. Baby could be crying. I'm like, whatever. I'm watching my YouTube video, and that's my moment to exhale, to kind of laugh, be in tune with whatever I'm watching or doing. And that's been a lifesaver for me, just those 10 minutes that I'm locked in the bathroom and nobody comes to get me, and I come back out, I'm usually feeling a lot better. It's refreshing. So just stealing away,
Yeah,
10 minutes, it makes a world of a difference.
I like that reminder that it doesn't have to be 3 hours or like a spa retreat or all these other things that we think that we need. It can be 10 minutes. So Candace is looking for advice for offering toddler peer interaction during COVID. What are some ways to make sure that toddlers are getting that kind of peer-to-peer socialization during COVID?
I'm still looking for the answers to that. Because I mean, especially with my daughter being the only child, and I'm like, there is so many Barbies that I can play with. Like, my playtime Barbie limit at this point. Like, I don't want to see another Barbie. So I don't know. Luckily, so she has a cousin who has also been like quarantined and social distancing, so I haven't had to worry about, you know, I mean, I guess there's always a possibility, but I feel comfortable with her coming over from time to time just for them to get a little bit of interaction, because I've read an article who talked about, you know, while some people are concerned about I guess it's speaking on school age children, while some people are concerned about the educational piece that the kids are missing while not being in school, you know, we should really be more concerned with their mental health, you know, and the lack of social interactions that they are receiving. You know, they learn through that. They learn through play. They learn through their social interactions. And so that's the real, like, thing that we should be worried about. And I don't, it's so hard during this time because the iPad can only keep her attention for so long. You know, playing with the toys can only keep her attention for so long. She asks all the time, like, are the germs still at Miss Maria's? Because I want to go see my friends. And I'm like, well, kind of, you know. So, I mean, it's hard. And we have repetitive conversations about why she can't see her friends. And, I mean, I don't know. I'm still...
I've heard of people having Zoom hangouts for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's doing an activity together, doing the same activity, and they can interact that way. I mean, I'm obviously not a toddler, but I do reading. I do story time every afternoon with my niece and nephew.
Mm-hmm.
They're 6 and 3. And you know, they don't really pay attention to the story, but after, when we're just chatting, they really enjoy it. Like, they're like, and this, and let me show you this, and let me show you that. And it's, you know, I'm not a kid, but they're getting an interaction with somebody else. So, I mean, if you have a best friend from school, like, get with their mom or dad and get a Zoom hangout going once a week and coordinate an activity, see how it works.
I love that idea. And I'm trying to think if I know anybody I can ask, and I can email you separately what they say, Candace. But yeah, I was saying earlier before we started the event that I want to have some kind of like mental health care check-in for kiddos, because this is, screen time can only do so much. So yeah, definitely. Does anyone have any other questions, thoughts, feelings?
This was great.
Oh, yay.
I had a tough day today, but you know, talking with you ladies is so refreshing, and I appreciate you all. I really do. Thank you, Tommy, for being the mastermind and being so necessary.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And same here. I had been crying, not good tears, for most of the day, and then the evening getting to connect with this community. And my dad's WhatsApping me. Getting to talk to, you know, my communities. It's been really helpful. So yeah. So Candace, did you want to say something?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I missed the beginning of the call, but I'm 3 weeks postpartum, so this has definitely been pretty beneficial, and I hope I can join again at the next one.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to ask or need support with?
Not at the moment. Definitely struggling with breastfeeding. It's definitely been a struggle a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, it's still pretty early, so I'm trying to get the hang of it and trying to get the baby on the schedule, and of course, just not being able to have as much support as we would like.
Yeah.
Because of the coronavirus. And then my birth was I ended up getting a C-section, which was unplanned. So this recovery has been a little tough, but not at the moment.
Okay.
Taking it day by day.
Thank you for sharing. I have an article about like some common breastfeeding issues that like a lactation consultant gave me some tips on how to navigate that. So I will share that in the chat when I find it. But that's a really good that leads me to a question that I think would be helpful to ask is like, how do you process a difficult delivery during this time period where, again, the resources and support aren't as readily available as they were pre-COVID?
Well, for me, I wouldn't say it was just too difficult. I mean, it was definitely unplanned. But I was so grateful this is my baby to be here and healthy. I think the most traumatizing part for me was that the medicine they gave me did not work completely. So I felt a portion of what was like, them pulling and cutting. There was a lot of burning going on. So that was the most traumatizing for me.
Yeah.
But just having the support, I have a couple of other friends who have had babies during this time as well. So just being able to lean on them and just knowing that I'm not the only one experiencing what I'm experiencing. Like when it comes to breastfeeding, or my other friend, she had an emergency C-section as well, like a few weeks prior, but she hadn't shared with anybody. When I shared my story, it kind of helped her to open up. So we're kind of just bouncing stuff off of each other, and just knowing that like I'm not the only person experiencing, what I experienced like throughout my birth or throughout, the postpartum period.
Yeah.
But even though you don't have the personal interaction with people, still, staying in contact and like support groups.
Yeah. I was just about to drop a link of 14 breastfeeding support groups for Black moms.
And Candace, I want to say I'm just glad that you shared, because a lot of moms don't come home. Like our maternal mortality rate is horrible for Black women. So for you to be able to share your story and be here with us to tell us, I always think that's wonderful, because a lot of moms don't make it home. And, it's a sad reality. But just for you to be here and to share that and be open to do that, I think that's great. And another thing is Harmony NL on Instagram. She's
Harmony NL?
Harmony NL. That's her Instagram page and her website. She's a Black lactation specialist. Me and Tiffany work really close with her. She does support groups. She does one-on-one consultations, but she just provides that support. And she's actually a certified lactation support specialist. So she'll do it virtually, but I just think she's been a tremendous help for some of the moms we work with, just to have that community and have that support. And also moms in our support groups that we have, a lot of those moms share their issues that they've had with breastfeeding and being able to work through some of those hurdles.
Thank you. Can you post that her Instagram
in the chat?
And just to kind of piggyback what you were saying about like just the Black maternal health, like I actually went in for an induction. So I was very intentional about choosing my doctor, an African American female, just for that reason. And like even throughout, I mean, of course, asking questions. She was awesome. So I was definitely grateful, to have the provider that I had, as well as the nurses.
Thank you, Whitney. And thank you, Candace, for sharing. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there are any other new mom specific questions that I have, but I can't think of anything. Again, if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to ask or drop in the chat.
I just wanted to give feedback to that, because I too had an unexpected C-section, and I was planned for vaginal birth. Like I had got that, like I knew everything around that. And so I kind of felt blindsided, because I hadn't prepared for a C-section, and nobody told me how I was going to be doped up for like 3 days and in pain for months. And just like laughing hurt, like everything, going to the bathroom, like I knew nothing about what a C-section was going to bring, because I didn't prepare for that. So I think I would just say to get all the help from everybody in the community to assist you with everything, like from cooking and cleaning and organizing and helping you with the baby, because that's a very painful experience that nobody tells you about. And even, you know, when I could laugh or take a shower, like I did a workout last night and I did a stretch and I felt it like right where the incision was, and my daughter's 1, and I was like, oh my God, like this is still like persistent in my body. So I would just say to get help and to continuously get help for a solid year, because it takes a long time for the body to recover from a C-section. And what was most frustrating is like my doctors were very nonchalant about it. Like it's a procedure that they do all the time, and like I felt like nobody could understand why I felt traumatized by it. And so it was disconcerting. Like I didn't have a medical team to go to and say, what the hell? Like nobody medically explained it to me. Like it just happened so quickly. So just I would just say get help, because that healing is like no other healing I've ever experienced in my life.
It's scaring me a bit. No, yeah, like I understand. Like today, I went for a walk and like my whole body. I don't understand why, but my whole body, like I can't even go up and down the stairs. It's so sore. But like, you know, prior to giving birth, I was still walking. I was still active. So it's like now I can't understand why just taking a simple walk around my neighborhood is making me this sore.
Takes time. Same thing with me. I had a doula. I knew I was ready to have a natural childbirth, end up having an emergency C-section, and it takes time for the body to heal. Like give yourself time. Take it real slow. And you know, one thing for me also is just kind of allowing myself to grieve and realize to grieve that I didn't get to have the birth that I wanted, and kind of being present and enjoying what I have. It's like it was like so quick. You didn't have time to really realize, oh wait, this is not the birth that I had been planning for months. It's something different. But you kind of have to move on to take care of the baby. Like allowing myself to kind of go through the process of feeling through everything that happened. But take time. I mean, my pelvis and bones aren't even like stitched back together. I still have trouble walking, and you know, walking around. I mean, like, I live in New York, so it's important to walk, and it's tough. I'm breathing heavy, and my boy is 6 months. So your baby's 2 months. Yeah, give yourself time. It's not uncommon.
Wow. Well, thank you, ladies.
And I know another resource I wanted to give you ladies right quick. We had Dr. Quanah Tribble Jackson. She's a pelvic floor therapist, and she is awesome. She explains everything about that soreness with your incision, those pelvic bones that you said that you were talking about, like when you have a traumatic birth, like all of those changes that your pelvic floor goes through. And how much it separates, where those muscles change. And she just gives you tips and tricks you can use at home to help loosen up that scar tissue with the C-section, to rebuild those muscles down there, because it's really a whole entire process. And she just gave us so much good information. And women in other countries get 6 pelvic floor appointments postpartum. In this country, we don't get that. But just knowing how much is needed, because your pelvic floor goes through so much. So she has been a great resource for some of our moms that me and Tiffany see, and she did an awesome presentation in one of our postpartum groups. But definitely go on her IG. She's awesome.
I am so ready for the matriarchy, because this patriarchy bullshit is just like, what do you mean 6 pelvic floor? Oh my gosh, that's insane.
And I didn't even know anything about pelvic floor therapy before.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was gonna say
so much you don't know about your body until you're trying to have a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
I
gonna
did know
say
that.
I didn't even know. I found out about the pelvic floor therapy because I was in another new mommy group when I first had my daughter. And so when I found out, I went back to my gynecologist and I was like, can I get referred for this? And she refused because she was just like, well, you had a very, it was a normal C-section. So I don't see the point of having you having that therapy. That's usually when somebody has a more traumatic or debilitating issue with their body. And so it was so discouraging because to Cassie's point and Candace's point, basic things, like my body was on fire for a really long time and I was stiff and sore and like basic things just hurt for a really long time. So to have her, is why I don't fool with them no more, to have her, deny a therapy that another woman had told me was helping her feel so much better, I was floored. I was like, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also because that ties into the sexual function too. Yes. Kind of talked about that. And she said your sexual floor can impact like your ability to orgasm or your ability, like all of these different things that if your pelvic floor is not where it needs to be or even to satisfy yourself. So that was a big thing she talked about. So all of this kind of comes together when we all get together and can talk about it. But
yeah, one thing to add is like he is my third C-section baby and final. And so just understanding that, for you, Candace, who have, it was a little bit more, it was unexpected. Just knowing that like this was my third one and it went great. Like, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like that concern again. My last C-section was unplanned as well. And I didn't get the meds that I needed to get. The anesthesia didn't kick in properly. So I was literally feeling when they were beginning the incision and I felt a burning. Oh, and, I alerted the anesthesiologist and
I felt the same burning.
Yeah. I was like, I feel you cutting.
Wow.
And they stopped.
They completely ignored it.
No, exactly.
They ignored you?
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, he didn't ignore. He kept telling me it was pressure, and I'm like, no, it's
no.
Oh my god.
And she kept giving me more morphine, but I think morphine was taking a little bit longer to kick in than whatever he was giving me through my epidural. And he eventually walked away. I think he got irritated, but
wow, I'm so sorry.
More morphine.
So, yeah, but this time around, I will say it went so much better. I had so much peace. My recovery has been better, which is crazy because I was concerned, like, this is my third C-section. How is my body going to respond? But I took my meds, being, doped up a little bit, but they worked. And as soon as I felt comfortable, I weaned off of it. And there were some uncomfortable things that I was noticing in my body. So just the fact that you're aware of like how you're feeling. Don't push yourself too hard, because even little things like picking up another child can be more challenging. So learning how to say like, mommy can't pick you up, or just those hard moments. And just in terms of tips for building that kind of village for you to get those things that you need. I know we had a friend that went and picked up groceries for us. Like you can order their groceries online and someone can do the pickup for you. Things like that, or order a Target run and put everything that you need in your cart and they can pick it up for you. So just things like that can be helpful, or a friend who can come and, they can take the laundry and fold it at their place, so just trying to kind of be a little bit more creative in the things that we need help with. But those are kind of things that have been helpful to me. And you'll feel some of that soreness and some of that discomfort for a few months, even like another person said, up to a year. And so not feeling mentally confused, like what's wrong with me or why am I not feeling better, because it really is it's a huge surgery that your body has just endured. So be gracious towards yourself. Don't expect more than what you're experiencing. Like you're going to be experiencing a change because your body is trying to put itself back together again.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
I love you guys so much. This has been such an amazing evening of just like knowledge sharing and compassion and empathy for each other. I like to end this with like a mantra that people can call on in the coming week. Does anyone have like a mantra that they like to call on when they're in a bad way to pull them forward?
So one that I pull on a lot is that no thought can remain in my mind without my permission. And so just a reminder that like the thoughts that come into your mind, they may come in from different sources. They may come in because of a trigger, something you saw, something a child did, or that your husband, communicated, whatever it is. But no thought can remain in your mind without your permission. Once it gets there, you now have the authority, you now have the choice to either allow it to stir and grow inside of your thoughts and your mind, or you can remove it, put it somewhere else. You can acknowledge it, you can respond to it, but it cannot remain in your mind without your permission. So no thought can remain in my mind without my permission. So
Love that.
For
Go ahead, Casey.
I struggle with, am I doing enough for my son? Am I being the best mom that I can be? And for me, it's just realizing that I am enough. This boy was given to me. So who I am, exactly who I am, my personality, my quirks, my flaws, my, the things that are great about me is exactly what he needs. And that is more than enough. So I try to remind myself of that when I'm going a little crazy about, am I doing enough? Am I being enough for him? But I am exactly who he needs, and I'm enough.
Yes, you are. One that I have for myself is I take care of others and I get to be taken care of. It's very easy for me to give and to give and to give and to not ask for what I need. And in this season, with everything just going the way that it is, I can't pretend that I don't need help. I can't pretend that I don't need to be supported. And so I get to ask my community for what I need and be able to receive that in return. So I take care of others and I get to be taken care of.
I have one more. I just remembered. I've been saying this. One mommy, one thing at a time. And that's what I say to my toddlers when they're all asking for things and I feel like too many things happening, too many sounds, one's crying, one's whatever. I just say this directly to them, say one mommy, one thing at a time, one mommy, one thing at a time. And that helps me to remember as well that I can't do it all in this moment. I'm one mommy and I can do one thing at a time. And that kind of helps recalibrate everybody's awareness, that I'm one mommy, one thing at a time. That's it.
That's great, Candace. Whitney and Tiffany, can you, I forgot to read your bios and we just jumped right in. Do you want to tell everyone who you guys are, where they can find you? Yeah. I love watching you guys play chicken.
So Whitney and I are licensed clinical mental health counselors. We specialize in maternal mental health, including perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, including postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum PTSD, postpartum OCD, bipolar 1 and 2. And of course, we work with other general population that does not include mothers as well. We are the founders of a nonprofit organization called Raising Resilience, where we strive to educate and destigmatize maternal mental health in the Black community. We provide support groups for the women in our community. Since COVID has been going on, our support group has been virtual, so we have been able to provide therapy from women all over the country. And we do workshops to, again, educate parents and dads included, because they can also experience symptoms of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, as well as additional caregivers, whether it's grandparents, adoptive parents. I'm drawing a blank now with.
You kind of listed everything we
Okay.
Damn it. Oh, and we're also trauma certified. So we are very heavy on trauma and understanding trauma and just triggers and all of that as well that goes into maternal mental health, especially moms of color. So that's kind of like our thing.
Yeah, and their website is weareraisingresilience.com, and they have a support group on June 5th, and you can get the link on their website and on their Instagram account, which is @raising.resilience. And Casey, can you tell everybody who you are and where they can find you?
Hi, I'm Casey Patterson, a wife. I'm a new mom. I have a 6-month-old son named Story. A new New York City transplant. I'm originally from Miami and with Jamaican roots. So my parents are Jamaican, so I'm first generation. Well, I'm a blogger, so I do natural hair, beauty, lifestyle, and my joy, my burden is just being transparent, having conversations that share my story, hoping to encourage and inspire other women. I really feel we can learn a lot when we speak and we're open with each other. So I really enjoy having these kinds of conversations, opening up and hearing from you all. So I have a blog. It's caseydion.com, where I share a lot of my journey, and it's been a bumpy and bumpy ride, but it's been a joy to just share with other women and get that feedback out as well. So I have my website, caseydion.com, and also on IG. You can find me at caseydion.
Yay. And I am Tomi Akatunde. I'm the founder of Modern Mia. It is a platform that helps Black moms thrive in motherhood, life, and career. Do that through content. And I like to say that Modern Mia is like Black Mom Google. Like if you have a question, I have probably written an article about it. And if I haven't, I will do that. And we have been doing these mom nights in every Thursday, or almost every Thursday since coronavirus, as an opportunity for community building and wisdom sharing, because oftentimes it feels like the whole practice of motherhood is you feel like you have to reinvent the wheel, but there's someone who has the answer already. So that's how I like to bring in experts like Casey and Whitney and Tiffany to share their experiences, and then all of us can learn from each other. So next week's event is still up in the air, depending on RSVPs, but some topics that I am working on are like, it's summertime, like what does that mean for parenting right now? Homeschooling versus unschooling, the mental health of children. If there are any other topics that are of interest, I actually, now that I'm thinking about the earlier question, I think the event that I was planning before COVID was about sex and intimacy. So I think it's a good one to bring back. And yeah, thank you guys so much for spending the evening with all of us, for sharing your stories and being so transparent and vulnerable with all of us. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope to see you at another Mom's Night In. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.